first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from
President Buhari directs relevant federal agencies to offer assistance to flood victims in Bayelsa State.
Biodun Oyebanji takes oath of office as 5th Executive Governor of Ekiti State.
National Broadcasting Commission requests the state government to reverse illegal closure of some broadcast stations in the state.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss post-ASUU strike, regaining lost ground.
It was a huge sigh of relief for Nigerians when the Academic Staff Union of Universities last week Friday announced the suspension of its 8-month-old strike, which started on February 14 this year.
Now, it was said from the outset that the declaration of the strike was, as it were, about Valentine gift for students, and with the time it progressed to become a nightmare for everyone. Students, parents, and the academia, spanning 8 months, which means more than one academic session again has been lost.
Indeed, Kingsley, how time flies, and some of ASUU's demands that led to the strike include the renegotiation of the 2009 agreements, use of the University Transparency and Accountability Solution (UTAS) to replace the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System (IPPRS), the non-payment of earned allowances, among other demands. But the longer the strike lasted, the more it seemed ASUU lost sympathy with Nigerians, especially parents and students who bore the brunt of the protracted industrial action.
Well, it took the spirited intervention of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, to bring the government and ASUU teams to the negotiating table after many months of a deadlock. This was before an amicable resolution was reached that led to the suspension of the strike. That's just one part of the story. The other part of the story is that the federal government took ASUU to the National Industrial Court, which then issued an interlocutory order directing ASUU members to resume work. ASUU then appealed that interlocutory order, plus of course a stay of execution. The Court of Appeal directed ASUU to then report to duty by obeying the order earlier given by the National Industrial Court.
Yes, the president of ASUU was saying yesterday that they are obeying the order of the court. Consequently, all members of ASUU were directed by union's leadership to resume all services hitherto in public universities. Recall it also that the Court of Appeal had ordered ASUU to suspend the strike before its appeal of the ruling ordering lecturers to resume work could be had.
Well, the face-off is over, at least for now. But losses have been incurred while the strike lasted. And these losses include, of course, academic semesters, and if not in session, loss of lecturers and professors, some who had no money to keep body and soul together. Brain drain, we also understand, that taking place in the public university system with the emigration of lecturers abroad and a backlog of about 1.7 million students waiting for admission into various public universities. These were universities that were unable to conclude the 2021 admission processes.
Apart from the brain drain cases, some of them even died during the period, and while some students may have even, and now some students may have even lost interest in education, they say, as they engaged in both meaningful and menial jobs while the strike lingered. The ID cards of many final year students got expired during the strike, and indeed it will take a lot of effort from lecturers to rekindle the zeal of students to learn when the ivory towers get bubbling again with academic activities.
It wasn't a surprise, therefore, when the Honorable Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, tendered an apology to Nigerian students and parents over the prolonged ASUU strike, saying it was unwarranted in the first place and promising that measures were being taken to forestall a reoccurrence in the future.
Hopefully. Well, now, no point lamenting over spilt milk, as there were several mishaps and misfortunes that were tied to the ASUU strike, including increase in crime rate and, other issues as a result of idleness on the part of students.
The issue now is, with the suspension of the strike by ASUU, how can lost ground be regained? I'm talking about the academic programs that the students were on. I understand one of the universities, probably University of Port Harcourt or so, is saying that the second semester exams will start in 9 days' time. That notice was issued at the weekend, which would be like a week from now. But how do you get students who have been sitting at home for 8 months to suddenly wake up and then you start setting exams for them? Then for those, of course, who have not completed their admission processes, what happens?
Yeah, these are questions and more that we shall seek answers to with the panel of guests we have assembled on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Jumma Yusuf, welcoming you to the first episode of the program for the week.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Jumai to also welcome you to the program live for the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are broadcasting from the nation's headquarters studios here in Abuja. In the course of the program, we'll bring you our complimentary segments of business and newspaper review, and hopefully also sports. I do hope that you had a pleasant weekend, Jumai.
Yeah, I know you won yesterday, so don't forget.
I don't play. At my age, I don't play soccer, but I can't. I don't want to have orthopedic issues. But the truth is, when you see good matches, when you watch good matches, I mean, you are thrilled. I recall at the commencement of the Premier League, when Arsenal won their first match, some naysayers were busy circulating on social media the league table and said this is the way the league table of the Premier League looks 2 hours into the league.
That's not terrible.
But of course you have seen what Arsenal has done.
But we are still at the top of the
Absolutely. 24 points, and they are improving daily. And then Manchester City, of course, suffered their first loss as they got drowned by Liverpool just by a lone goal. But of course, the biggest story came out from El Clasico, the 250th edition, when Real Madrid hosted Barcelona. And of course, who couldn't have watched that match? It was a great match, and ultimately, European champions and defending champions of the Spanish La Liga, Real Madrid, came triumphant 2-0 at halftime. Of course, they put one back, that's Barcelona, and it was concluded with a penalty from Rodrigo. All right, so congratulations to all who continue to watch great matches on television. Musbah Dan Wahab, our colleague, has a highlight of the morning news. Good morning, Musbah.
Good morning, Kinsley and Jumai. I suppose you're going to say congratulations to yourself for waiting for Real Madrid winning Barcelona. Anyway,
I wasn't going to say that. There's also a sad note, by the way. I understand the governor of Rivers, Nyesom Wike, traveled out of the country with some governors. They said they went to Spain. I wouldn't know whether they watched La Liga. El Clasico.
Well, probably because one of the reasons, because
United playing the CAF Champions League were thrashed 6-0 in Morocco. That's bad news.
That's bad news.
Once again,
not a good one at all. And remember, the governor actually promised them $4,000 or $40,000 each if they have won that game, but unfortunately it seems they've lost that big money that was supposed to have come their way. Now let's talk about news. News never goes on strike. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed all federal agencies dealing with rescue and disaster management to offer all needed assistance to Bayelsa and other states affected by floods in the country. The president, in a statement, extended its condolences to the families of the victims and all those affected by floods in Bayelsa State. According to reports released by the state government, 700,000 persons have been displaced in about 300 communities and villages that were submerged in water. President Buhari blamed buildings and water channels, disregard for early warnings by relevant agencies, and the changes to weather caused by climate change as chiefly to blame for the floods that have so far hit 33 of the nation's 36 states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, which has not been spared either. The president directed all concerned to work for the restoration of normalcy throughout the affected parts of the Federation. Following the havoc flood is wreaking in some states across the country, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, has advised state governments to strengthen legal instruments to access funds for effective disaster preparedness and response.
All the respective state governments, local governments, and communities to prepare by evacuating people living on flood plains to high grounds, providing tents and relief materials, fresh water, as well as medical supply for possible outbreak of waterborne diseases.
55-year-old political scientist Biodun Oyebanji has been sworn in as the 5th executive governor of Ekiti State. Oyebanji, who was elected on the platform of the All Progressives Congress (APC), highlighted a 6-point agenda to drive its administration's development plan.
To manage the state, we should follow the steps of all the former governors.
The amalgamation of interest groups in the North has engaged presidential candidate to set agenda for rapid socio-economic and political development through a sustainable roadmap aimed at addressing national problems. 18 presidential candidates are expected to interact with the groups.
I am optimistic with a reasonable, responsible and just leadership that can give every part of this country a sense of belonging. We will achieve and we can achieve nationwide.
The National Broadcasting Commission has decried what it calls the illegal action of Zamfara State government of shutting down operations and licenses of the Commission and some broadcast stations in the state on Saturday, October 15, 2022. The NBC has clearly notified the state government of the gravity of illegality and requested it to expeditiously reverse the directive and apologize to the people of the state. The Director General, Balarabe Shehu Ilela, in a statement urges security agencies to ignore the call to restrict staff of the affected stations from conducting their legitimate duties. The Commission emphasized that it will resist any attempt to cause a breach of law and order anywhere through the misuse of a broadcast media in Nigeria before, during, and after the 2023 general elections. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, says it will strengthen collaboration with stakeholders in mitigating crude oil theft and infractions on its pipelines. The takeaway from an inspection visit to an illegal connection point on the 48-inch Focados crude oil export line in Delta State is that it cannot be business as usual.
Assure Nigerians that we are doing something to curb this menace of crude oil theft. We know the direct impact it has on the revenue, we all know, but especially on the people in the host communities and the environment. No one can do it alone. We can all do it together to achieve our desired objective.
And arrangements have been concluded for the return of over 20 Benin bronzes from the United States of America.
They will be exhibited at the National Museum in Benin so that we can unite them with the people and the place where they were looted about 125 years ago.
For Lai Mohammed, he has remained consistent.
It is not about how you came into possession of these items that matters, but the fact that they remain looted, they remain stolen, and the right thing to do is to return them to where they belong.
And that concludes the morning news on Good Morning Nigeria. The program will continue in just a moment with Jumai and Kinsley after this break.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Post Mustafa, TFR, invites all honorable ministers, head of the Civil Service of the Federation, permanent secretaries, and top government functionaries to a 2-day midterm ministerial review retreat to be presided by His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The retreat is scheduled as follows. Date Monday 17th to Tuesday 18th October 2022. Venue State House Conference Center, Presidential Villa, Abuja. Time 9 a.m. daily. The objectives of the third-year ministerial performance review retreat include the following. Review the performance of ministries in delivering the ministerial mandates signed in 2019. Identify and propose solutions towards resolving key impediments to implementation and re-strategize on how to accelerate the delivery of results along the 9 priority areas of the administration, especially as it is winding down. Announcer James Sule, Permanent Secretary, Cabinet Affairs Office, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation.
Esther, you're late again. Esther?
She's a woman, light in the darkness. She's beautiful. She's like a star, so never let her mama down. She's beautiful. She wrote it well, she wrote it, I got it.
No phones at the table, please. Esther. I love you too.
Don't forget I'll pick your phone.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Wake up the champion in your child. Give them energy to go further. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child. Milo.
I'm talking to you.
Thank you. Hi there. You can price shop, but you're always saving on everything except for here. This is where you're throwing money down the drain. How? On this cleaning product. Impossible. You need the new Harpic toilet cleaner. With just 130 naira sachet of Harpic toilet cleaner, you save more. Harpic stick formula stays longer, so it cleans 10 times better. Wow, hey! And it's safe because it's only 30 naira, giving you a sparkling clean toilet and great savings too.
Today, we're here to tell you that while we may not be there yet, our military and other security agencies have succeeded and are succeeding in substantially restoring security across the nation. As far as the daunting security challenges we face are concerned, we can tell you that the worst is over. And never again will terrorists and bandits and their cohorts hold sway in our country.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be patient? If you must worry, don't worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Next on the program is Business News with Abika Opanachi Arua.
Despite several challenges confronting point of sales POS businesses in Nigeria, transactions on various terminals climbed to 735.6 billion naira in September 2022, according to data from the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System (NIBSS). Due to the unemployment challenges in Nigeria, many youths, including the women, have become POS merchants. According to NIBSS, in the last 9 months of the year, Nigeria spent a total of 6.05 trillion naira over POS, almost the same amount recorded in the full year of 2021, which stood at 6.4 trillion naira. NIBSS said the volume of transactions on POS went up as it increased by 14% year-on-year to 100.4 million in September 2022. This means that in the last 9 months, a total of 568,488 additional POS terminals have been added, as the number of deployed machines stood at 915,519 as of December 2021. However, NIBSS said there is still a gap between the number of registered POS and the number of deployed machines. According to them, a total of 2.164 million POS machines had been registered across the country as of September this year, which showed that a total of 680,991 terminals are either yet to be deployed or have become inactive. With Business News, Alika Opanachi Arua.
Thank you very much, Alika Opanachi Arua, for the business package on Good Morning Nigeria. Coming up next, newspaper review.
And we have some papers this morning to look at. We begin with the Daily Trust newspaper, just below the masthead. Knocks trail closure of broadcast stations by Zamfara government. Knocks trail closure of broadcast stations by Zamfara government. Tinubu meets northern leaders today on consortium dialogue over secret endorsement. 25 persons killed in Kaduna-Bauchi road crashes. And the bold headlines we have in the Daily Trust newspaper, Orosaya report, despite white paper asks agencies get 226 billion in 2023 budget. You can see the illustration there if you want to get the details of the report. At the bottom plate of the Daily Trust newspaper, Nigeria's flood death toll hits 603 as 2.5 million affected. Oyeronka sworn in as Ekiti governor. Is that correct? I don't think it's correct. Oyebanji sworn in as Ekiti governor. APC PDP clash over Atiku's comment on Tinubu Obi's chances in the north. Jai's Bank new MD Siraju assumes duty. And from the Nigerian pilots, just below the masthead, we have 2023 editors converge on Owerri to examine political landscape. Labour Party flags of presidential campaign October 25. That's coming from the spokesman. Publish all tips, all the exclamation mark. With riders, Serap gives Buhari 14 days ultimatum to set up panel of inquiry on oil theft. Demands prosecution of anyone suspected to be responsible for the crime. Insists panel should be headed by retired Supreme Court or Court of Appeal judge. Says period of investigation should span from 2001 till date. You find all the details on page 8. Flood affects 2.5 million persons, damage 82,000 houses. as coming from the federal government. Fayemi bows out as Oyebanji is sworn in as Ekiti governor at the bottom plate of the Nigerian pilot. Bauchi fatal accident claims 11 lives, injures 9 persons. APC condemns Atiku statement on North voting for Northern candidate. APC wants Rivers Assembly to apologize over former Governor Omeha. This was on page 5. Nnamdi Kanu Ihedioha dismisses forged letter to Malami, says Uzodinma responsible. Details on page 5. And Mossop attacks Shell, calls for stiffer penalties against oil pollution. Leslie.
Okay, we'll also very quickly take a look at some of the headlines on the front page of the New Telegraph newspaper. Above the nameplate, you have the following headlines. NBS, that's the National Bureau of Statistics. Banks workforce shrinks by 10.15% to 10,520 in 2 years. Banks workforce shrinks by 10.15% to 10,520 in 2 years. IJR, Lagos tops as 36 states and FCT grows 1.9 trillion naira. And below the name flag, Senate begins budget defense this week amid reservations. Federal government to overhaul safety architecture with 36.2 billion naira. You have other details there. And Oyebanji sworn in as Ekiti governor, promises prosperity. Here's Fayemi. Northern governors rejoice with ex-governor over successful tenure. The next story comes with a kicker: flooding. Federal government mulls bilateral talks with Cameroon on periodic opening of Lagdo Dam. Federal government mulls bilateral talks with Cameroon on periodic opening of Lagdo Dam. Says over 500 lives lost. We have another account there from Daily Trust indicating that it's now 603 lives that have been lost. 90,000 houses damaged, 140,000 hectares of farmlands destroyed. IDPs rise to 15,002 in Delta. Clark, that's Chief Ike Clark, accuses federal government of nonchalance towards Niger Delta. Declare national emergency in Bayelsa and others. Diri, that's the governor of Bayelsa, urges the federal government. 2023, Tinubu to face northern elders and leaders. And false Atiku's campaign's declaration. What I told northern audience, that's according to Atiku. Obi promises Marshall Plan educational system. Osun local government poll, APC clears all 69 chairmanship seats. And second story says First Republic leaders more committed to Nigeria's unity than present ones. That's a claim by Eya. It's an interview there. You have it here on pages 9 and 10. Study links chronic stress to cancer death. Details on page 8. So those are the stories that we have on the front pages of the papers this morning. There are a number of interesting stories to take a look at. The first is part of what you heard in our bulletin, and Juma, you also read that on the front page about Knox trailing closure of broadcast stations by Zamfara government. At the weekend, the Zamfara state government purported to have shut the operations of the Nigerian Television Authority, Federal Radio Corporation, and 2 other private stations in Guzo, that's the Zamfara state capital. The statement that was issued by the Commissioner for Information in Zamfara State claimed that the State Security Council had decided that the media organizations were, according to them, in breach of some professional laws or journalism laws or broadcast laws. The details were not specified, but what followed was to indicate that the state government had prohibited political campaigns in some local government areas, and that the PDP then staged a rally in one of those local government areas, and there was a fracas, and the fatality arising from that, some persons were injured. And that the apparent offense of the media organizations, listen to this, was that they covered
the events,
the rally. This is it's a huge joke, honestly. I mean, it's you say that the journalists, the broadcast stations that cover the event, committed an offense, and that was an infraction of the law. So, but if you had prohibited rallies from taking place, and a party staged a rally, where are those who were in breach of your directive not to stage a rally in the prohibited location? Yes. So you left them, so it is the media that covered it. It's like saying the media cover issues around banditry, armed robbery, and kidnapping, and then you say they are now guilty of a criminal offense. It's a huge joke, and it's a beautiful thing that the National Broadcasting Commission and indeed other stakeholders, including the IPR, that is the International Press Institute, have of course weighed in on this and condemned the Zamfara state government for what it has tried to do. As the NBC said, no law enforcement officer should obey that illegal directive. And this is the reason. It's clear. The broadcasting landscape is regulated by the National Broadcasting Commission. Assuming the Zamfara state government had any issues with any of those broadcast stations, the Zamfara state government cannot take the laws into its own hands. It will be a complainant and write to the National Broadcasting Commission detailing its complaint against particular media organizations, that's to say the broadcast media outlets, and the National Broadcasting Commission, of course, will then take the appropriate action. Now, this is the kind of thing that we used to witness during the military era, where a state governor could wake up and shut down a station, or the federal government could wake up and then close down a newspaper house. There's no place for it under our democracy, which is underpinned by the rule of law. And the rule of law spells out the grievance redress procedure for anyone, government or citizen. But from what the NBC has said, what the Zamfara state government did was to have acted well beyond its powers. It has no power to do whatever it has done. And we do hope that the law enforcement agents will not also overstep their bounds, purporting to enforce that directive. In any event, assuming, just for purpose of argument, that those stations actually committed an offense. So the state government will be the prosecutor, will be the judge, will be the law enforcer, without the benefit of hearing from the other side. And fair hearing is a cardinal principle in chapter 4 of our constitution. So
it's a job to cover events like this.
So you cover an event now from what the Zamfara state government is doing, and then of course you go in for it. But those who stage the event are scot-free.
And even told the security agents that they should not allow anybody go near this. But
no, that's as I said, it's a huge job.
The whole country was awash with shock. The social media was, as usual, ablaze
with condemnation of that. They just hope that they were just probably angry, but they didn't know how to express their anger.
Yes.
But it is not the business of the media not to cover events.
As it unfolds, as it happens.
Go back again to the Constitution, check out Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The role of the press, the media in general, is guaranteed by the Constitution. What offense did those stations commit that you're saying shut them down and then don't let them broadcast, don't let them go into their places of work? And I think that
they shut them down. If he has an event, nobody is going to cover them.
I think asking the Zamfara state government to apologize to the people of Zamfara is one leg of it. The Zamfara state government should also apologize to those entities whose places of work were shut illegally.
Exactly.
All right, Juma. The other story, of course, has to do with the flood disaster now in the Niger Delta proper. That we had indicated when Lokoja was in lockdown as a result of the flooding, that the waters were going to find their way to the ocean, and the flood path was going to be Delta State, Anambra, part of Imo, Bayelsa, Rivers, and then before it empties into the Atlantic. And the footage that has come out over the weekend, of course, when you see those houses that have been submerged, entire communities, and right now we have fatalities of over 600 persons who have died. So I think that it's important, as many well-wishers have said, and the President, of course, has also given directives for relief materials to be provided to these communities. There was an idea that emerged when we discussed this topic almost a couple of weeks ago now, while Lokoja and parts of Kogi State were still submerged. That the NEMA, that is the management Emergency Management Agency had taken some water purification machines to Lokoja, and these were machines that the Nigerian government got by way of donation from Japan. We do hope that there are other water purification machines that are available for Bayelsa, for Delta, for I think Anambra is
indicated that Delta's own was on the way on that day, so I hope they've received it and Bayelsa will get
precisely. That's water purification, because when you see the water marks on the structures, it does tells you that there is no way you can have access to potable water in that kind of environment, and waterborne diseases become rife on this occasion. Cholera is a possibility, and we also hope that the Federal Ministry of Health, along with the State Ministry of Health of the respective jurisdictions, will also be on high alert to ensure that the number of fatalities, of course, gets to be reduced. Already, as we have read from the papers this morning, 603 persons have died from the flood incidents of this year. That's pretty sad. Now, the Nigerian government, from what we read from the front page of the New Telegraph, is proposing bilateral talks with Cameroon on the periodic opening of Lagdo Dam. It appears that this year's disaster has been occasioned again by the opening of the Lagdo Dam. We do hope that these talks will be beneficial, so that whether it is during the rainy season or before the rainy season, let us have some water. But experts on Good Morning Nigeria have also indicated that we need to also create dams. We also need to create dams, and then we also need to visit our own dams so that they can impound water whenever it rains or whenever Cameroon releases theirs.
Yeah, we'll have to sign off this segment and call for a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be patient? If you must worry, don't worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
Wake up the champion in your child. Give them energy to go further. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child. Milo.
This lesson beyond forever complete, a calm and peaceful sleep.
Removes mosquitoes so you can sleep a calm and peaceful sleep. Good night, Electric.
All I do is win. I wake up, I win. I close my eyes, and I win. Keep up on me, come on. Keep winning till the world stops spinning. Independent women, come on, now let's get it. I'ma keep winning till the world stops.
Wow, you look great. Did you just compliment that on? Darling superstar, great birthday, salon fresh, no matter what.
And then I'm talking to you.
Thank you.
Hi there. You can price shop, but you're always saving on everything except for here. This is where you're throwing money down the drain. How? On this cleaning product.
Impossible.
You need the new Harpic toilet cleaner. With just 130 naira sachet of Harpic toilet cleaner, you save more. Harpic stick formula stays longer, so it cleans 10 times better.
Wow, hey!
And it's safe because it's only 30 naira, giving you a sparkling clean toilet and great savings too.
Critical military objectives of total defeat of the terrorists in the northeast is already been achieved. Synchronized group and air operations have continued to inflict huge casualties on the terrorists, and they have been forcing many of them, including their commanders and emirs, to surrender in droves with members of their families. Whilst areas where terrorists hitherto have done some freedom of actions are being cleared, and socio-economic life is gradually returning to the most parts of the northeast. As while internal displaced persons are now returning to their ancestral homes to start life all over, in dignity under safe and more secure environment.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, as a prompt for our conversation, which is on regaining lost ground to the ASUU strike, we'll listen to this background here. Our correspondent, Garba Mohammed Natala.
The suspension of the 8-month-long strike embarked by Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has come with a sigh of relief to Nigerians, as academic activities are set to resume across all public universities. 2 new sets of students are seeking for admission into 2021 calendar year, and others are seeking admission for the 2022. The first set of students whose admission processes were concluded last year were unable to resume, while the other set of students sat for the Unified Tertiary Immatriculation Examination this year. Returning students also have to complete second semester of the academic session after an unwanted break of 8 months. The strike that was meant to press home demands of university lecturers for better salaries and tertiary education has, however, left the academic calendar distorted. This is why loss of crucial academic sessions has been identified as part of the negative consequences of the long-time strike.
They might be rejected due to this. Their goals, their life goals is low-key cut short, and this can also bring some anxiety symptoms, even depressive symptoms.
They say where 2 elephants fight, the grass, suffers. So the students are suffering the more. And then parents who are affected, Even the economy around the universities is also affected.
There is dilapidation of facilities going on. When you don't use facilities, houses, laboratories, libraries, you are not using them. They go bad. Our solution takes over. Then we now come back. This is another wastage.
How to regain lost grounds will be the focus of guests on Good Morning Nigeria.
With us in the studio to do justice to the topic, let me introduce in our Abuja studio Yakubu Aboki Ochefo. He is the Secretary General Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities and Secretary General Committee of Pro-Chancellors of Nigerian Federal Universities. It's a pleasure to have you join us again.
Yes, man. Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
And also in the studio is a regular Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Hamisu, a political scientist and public affairs analyst. He prefers to be called Malam. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, we have 2 guests who are joining us via Zoom from Benin. We would like to welcome Professor Lilian Salami. She is the Vice Chancellor of the University of Benin in the Edo State capital. Professor Salami, we're glad to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, my brother. Good morning. Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And also with us via Zoom from Abuja, we have Dr. Kasim Umar, who is the chairman of the University of Abuja chapter of ASUU. Dr. Umar, we're glad to have you with us on the program today.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, let's begin with Professor Ochefu, who is the Secretary General of the Committee of Pro-Chancellors of Nigerian Federal Universities. Professor Ochefu, well, ASUU says it has suspended the strike. This is after 8 months of the public university system, federal mostly, was on lockdown. Is this a happy ending that every stakeholder wished for, or it is just some temporary relief before the fire next time?
Well, now it's a temporary relief because no agreement has been signed. And you know, ASUU is a very procedural union, and they will insist on a memorandum of understanding or formal agreement to be signed as a condition for the strike to be called off. And we believe that the parties to the agreement, that is ASUU and federal government, will set out a timetable for these agreements to be signed for us to see the formal calling off of that strike. So let us say for now it is a temporary but positive solution because we can now have some traction within the university system.
Dr. Abuamiso, is it time to say uhuru now, or we still have to wait for another blast to happen again from ASUU?
Okay, I think from the press release by ASUU, it's a temporary ceasefire because if I recall vividly, the last paragraph of the release said that ASUU was calling off the strike because it is a law-abiding union, maybe because the court said they should go back to the classroom, and that they are doing that again, secondly, in deference to the president and other stakeholders that are waded into the situation. So it means that by the very calculation of ASUU, it was not willing to call off the strike. But because of these exigencies that warrant that they call off the strike as law-abiding union, and because of the plea of so many stakeholders, they are doing that pending maybe the outcome of the appeal or something. So that's what I can get from the release.
Dr. Abuamiso, thank you very much. Dr. Kasim Umar, with us via Zoom of ASUU chapter at the University of Abuja. We listened to the two guests here with us in the studios. So this is some temporary ceasefire. The matter is, of course, before the National Industrial Court. So what should stakeholders expect right now? If you say we suspended the strike, you can embark on the strike again tomorrow if the conditions so warrant. Is that what we are faced with?
Well, I'm not hearing you clearly. Next month, on the 13th of October 2022, and the result that the strike is suspended. The suspension of this strike is based on the background that we had discussion with the Honorable Speaker of the House, the Right Honorable Bajabiamila, and a lot of things were discussed. And with the intervention from the well-meaning Nigerians and other the appeal from Commander-in-Chief, we need to look at it and prove that yes, we can suspend the strike. But one thing is important. All this intervention and the appeal and the issue involved in the strike must be documented and filed by our union so that each party within the dispute will come into a compromise based on the collective bargaining of the entire. But as it is, the strike has been suspended, but we are not, the issue in the dispute are not satisfactorily addressed.
Dr. Kasim Uba, before we move on to other substantive aspects of our discussion this morning, you talked now about documenting the terms of the latest ceasefire. And some persons are going to have to wonder if in the statement issued by the national body of ASUU says it's a law-abiding entity and is therefore acting in obedience to the order of the court. What other documentary evidence or that documentation do you require? The order of the court is an order of the court. What else do you require?
You see, we don't want to discuss the issue on the area of court, but you are quite aware that as I said, the House of Rep leader met with the union and have some fruitful discussion and promise that yes, they will meet with the commander-in-chief where issues among the demand has to be attended to. So we are talking of documents too, because whenever strike is embarked on, we are quite aware that collective bargaining is always the key, where the two parties have to sit on the table, agree what to be done, and certain documents are signed. I'm referring to that document as an agreement because we are saying all the issues involved, it is not yet satisfactorily attended to. So we need to have a document